Good afternoon, everyone. Good day, and welcome to Is Your Way in Your Way podcast. And I am your host, Cassandra Crawley, Mayo. And for any new listeners out there, this podcast is about for my listeners who are ready. I mean, really ready to move forward in their lives, mitigate those self-imposed barriers, those obstacles, even those external barriers that's preventing you from living your best life on your terms. You know, we talk about topics of business and personal development and even self improvement. Those are the topics that relate to these. And we have a phenomenal topic today and a phenomenal guest today. And our topic today is going to be abundance is your birthright. And let me bring my guest on, and her name is Naranjan Nota. Hello, Naranjan. Welcome to Is Your Way in Your Way podcast.
Hello, Cassandra, and thank you so much for having me on your show. I'm excited to get into a conversation about abundance.
Oh, great. Well, listen, listeners, let me read her bio. Naranjan is a spiritual intuitive and relationship coach. She helps you to identify how other opinions and their judgment may deter you. That may deter you from meeting your goals, both personally and professionally. She takes a deep dive into the core karmic issues that manifest as anxiety, depression, lack of self esteem, self worth, and a fear of being visible, and transforms them into understanding, knowledge, and wisdom, resulting in joy, peace, and an enhanced feeling of compassion towards oneself and others. She has spent over 2 decades learning and reigniting her energetic gifts, working with the unseen higher realms and bringing them into a form for humans to understand and process energetically. She invites you on a courageous journey to transform yourself. Wow. Now is the time to embrace the infinite possibilities that await you at the convergence of the mind, body, and soul. Listeners, are we ready for that? Well, listen, Narajan, my first question is the work that you do, what qualifies you to do this type of work?
My own life, not only this physical life that I've had and I still having, but all the other lives that I've had before.
Mm.
I'm fortunate enough to be able to download, extract, and learn and heal from previous lifetimes that I have had on this planet.
Wow. Now, you talk about previous lifetimes. Now, I've heard very little about that, and I'm not sure if my listeners even understand what that means. Could you explain your other lifetime? Like, tell us about that.
Okay, so the expansion of that is I'm a believer that we're all here for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
Every single human being on this planet, our soul designed it very specifically for us to learn lessons called experiences in relationships with others and with self.
Okay.
And that is, in essence, a soul spiritual school that we live on this planet. So we're in soul evolutional school while we live here.
Okay, let me stop you 1 minute. Now, you said the relationships you have with others, like your parents, your sister, your brother, your friends, is that those relationships?
Every single person you meet, there's a relationship. Whether it be the person at the grocery store line checking your groceries out, that is an interaction, that is a relationship.
Okay.
every single place that you go, regardless of the depth, the deeper the connection, the bigger the lesson.
Okay. All
And
right.
sometimes, and most often, the most painful the lesson.
Okay. All right. So explain to me your other. Now, did you say your other lives? Is it life or other? I'm not clear on that. So,
So as our soul is designed to come to earth so we can evolve our spiritual experiences, and through
okay.
those spiritual experiences we have these relationships with other selves, with other individuals, parents, colleagues, siblings, children, and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
Before we get here and incarnate into this human vessel, we make contracts before we get here of saying this karmic relationship that needs to be resolved between this person and this person. This is the emotional experience that you're going to teach me. You're going to teach me abandonment. You're going to teach me guilt. You're going to teach me shame. And all these very heavy and real emotions that we go through in life, we
Mm-hmm.
make those contracts with certain individuals before we even incarnate. And
Mm.
that is all part and parcel of our soul evolving, but
Mm-hmm.
also learning on a karmic level. What is it we have done in other lives? Majority of the people on this planet at this moment of time have had multiple lives on this planet. So perhaps you've heard of the reference, what you put out is what you get back.
Yeah, you reap what you sow.
Right.
Okay. Okay.
So, in the same token as in this life, that happens on a, let's say, on a positive note, as well as it does on a negative note, for the lack of better terms, just for
Mm-hmm.
understanding.
Mm-hmm.
And that is where lifetime after lifetime, we get the opportunity to heal from something that we thought might have been good in the past, or maybe even knowing that we were doing wrong. We get an opportunity to heal that at this moment of time. But we also get to leverage the good that we have done in previous lifetimes to where
Mm-hmm.
we are sitting here today.
Well, listen, so okay, so you said the previous life, and there are lessons you learn from relationships that you have.
Mhm.
How long does this life last? I mean, so when someone passes away, are you saying that they pass away, but that they're reincarnated to someone else at a different space, place, or time?
That is much dependent on their soul, on what is their soul wanting to do. So when we
Mm,
come into human form, this is just a physical vessel. So when
right.
somebody dies, the physical vessel disintegrates back into Mother Earth, Gaia, but the spirit and the soul still lives on. That's still growing and evolving and learning from the whatever many years that we've lived on this planet look like. So there's an element of reflection and
Hmm.
learning and healing that's done, for the lack of better terms, I'm going to say, on the other side. So once
Mm,
somebody's left, they're in that place of going, how long is it going to take for me to heal from what I've done 20, 30,
mhm,
40, 80, or 90, or 100 years living on Mother Earth? And when do I want to go back? Do I need to go back? Is there more healing that needs to happen for me to go back? And what does that look like? Who are the contracts am I going to have with individuals in order for that healing to truly take place?
I remember I had a manicurist for years. And, we would I don't guess it matters. Well, she was from Vietnam. And
Mhm.
she used to always say to me often that maybe my prior life, I did something that I need to seek forgiveness, or I need to do something. It's like something happened. And to be honest, Naranjan, when I was like, your prior life, I'm like, I don't understand what you mean. What do you mean? This is the only life that I know of.
Mm.
So when you have my listeners, listening to this, they're probably still a little confused. Like, so you mean to tell me if I want to come back, I can? Or because the soul and the spirit continues to live on as one passes? Could you take a deeper dive into that for me?
Absolutely. The concept of coming back onto earth is very much driven by your soul.
Okay,
Your
now
soul
what's your
is
soul? Explain what a soul is from your
the
perspective.
soul. Okay, so the soul is, I want to say, a fragment of infinite source light.
Mm, okay,
We
okay.
are fragments of that. And in order for the evolution to take place, we got to learn some big lessons in different incarnations, be it in animal form on this planet or in human form on another planet. That allows that soul to grow because we
Mm,
grow through experiences, right?
hmm.
Even in human form, as children, we grow of too much candy one day is going to give you a tummy upset the next
Hmm.
day. So you
Hmm.
learn not to do that, hopefully.
Okay, okay,
So that's the journey of the soul. So the more we grow, the more lessons we learn and experience, and how we go through them is very important also. Our soul expands, and we are then able to embrace more peace, more joy, more harmony. But perhaps one of the biggest things is, in order to heal our ancestors and lineage. And I know I'm adding an extra layer of
yeah,
complexity into this conversation,
yeah.
but it brings all of it together in terms of who Cassandra is today is fragments of all of your ancestors, all of your lineage, all of the past lives that you have had. You are a mosaic
Okay,
of all of that. So you have
okay,
access to all of that wisdom and all of that greatness, but you have also got access to some of the hurt and some of the pain that needs to be healed. And because you're incarnated here today, you get this opportunity to heal it. And in that process, that shows an opportunity to expand the growth, the learning, and the healing of your soul.
okay. So let's say for my listeners, and the title of this podcast is Your Way in Your Way. There are certain, like I say, there are people that are listening that there is something in their heart of hearts that they know they should be doing. Like there's some that want to start a business. Okay. There may be others that want to be an advocate for some great cause. One may want to write a book. Another may want to forgive someone, but just stuck or in a relationship and knowing that that relationship is not good for them, but yet they can't get away from it. How do you overcome that based on what you are sharing? How can they overcome that when you say that we're here and their hurts and their trials and tribulations in everybody's life,
Mhm.
even I think if you're incarnated or if that's what one would believe. So what you're saying, there'll be different trials and tribulations or the same because we've not overcome those. So based on the work that you do, how do you support individuals in overcoming or having that anxiety or lack of self-worth or fear? How do people overcome that? How do you work with people to do that?
I work with individuals who are ready for the deep dive, who are
Okay.
ready to be truly supported and recognize perhaps the pattern of experiences and relationships. For argument's sake, we're going to say guilt.
Okay.
So, where have you witnessed guilt, be it in the current relationship you're in or
Hmm.
previous ones that you might have been involved with,
Hmm.
whomever it may be, a partner, colleague, parents, children, whomever. If
Hmm.
there's one emotion that keeps showing up over and over and over again, I'd invite you to say, okay, perhaps I'm ready to go deeper and remove, to transform the aspect of that emotion out of your energetic field.
Mm.
I'm a great believer that everything happens for a reason, and there's a reason for everything.
Hmm.
But it's up to us to be able to unravel that. So the draw or the attraction of I want to write a book, or I want to go and live in Spain, or I'm really gravitated towards this cause is all showing up because of perhaps a little mosaic tile of your soul that you're carrying around every single day is connected to another lifetime.
So, are you saying if somebody's paralyzed or stuck in something, that the work that you do um, could support them or
Absolutely.
release them from that?
It,
Okay.
it, it, I provide them with an opportunity to look at life from a very different perspective.
Okay. Now, would you be able to provide an example of maybe someone you worked with? We're not saying share any names, just so people, my listeners, will get an understanding of what that would look like. For example, what about now? Fear is huge. Yeah, okay. And let's say someone has a fear of getting up and speaking in front of people.
Mhm.
Okay. How would that be something you would work with someone on, because that's just something that keeps coming up?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes.
Would you be able to kind of give us, how would you navigate that with that person? What were some of the steps you would do?
A deeper excuse me, it would start with a deeper conversation of their relationship,
Okay.
of what happens in that fear. And
Okay.
perhaps when was the first time that they witnessed it? Could have been at childhood when you're sitting in school of stop talking, the teacher's talking. Why
Mm-hmm.
are you talking? Or parents are busy and they don't have time for you and they're saying, shut up and go and sit down. So recognizing those experiences that show up as adults
Mm-hmm.
are often seeded from childhood
Okay.
because
That's
we're
true.
in a position to perhaps relate to that. But I'm going to take it a step further. If we can get to a place of somebody identifying a spot of
Yeah.
when that might have happened,
Yeah.
whether they can identify or whether they can't, but perhaps surrender to that's a possibility, and I can surrender to that
Mm-hmm.
possibility of happening in my life,
Okay.
then I would further unravel that in looking at your ancestors, your lineage, your grandparents, your siblings, and further generations of
Mm.
where there might have been an aspect of silencing.
Right. And even if they don't know their ancestors, so you able to do that?
Correct.
They know of them, but don't know them.
Absolutely. Because when I work with individuals, I work with this, like we have this conversation. It's a very active, third dimensional conversation, like you and I. But often the insights and the additional wisdom that I get is because I work with their soul.
Okay. And what did you say the soul was again? The spirit and what
The,
else?
the soul is fragments of infinite source,
Okay.
whatever you want to call that, God, divine,
Oh,
universe, whatever you want to call that massive, bigger energy. It's a fragment of that and it gets put into his human form.
okay. So let me ask you, well, how did you know that what you are doing you're supposed to do? Because people are really hung up on, now I wouldn't say hung up, but like you indicated, there's a reason we're all here. We all have a purpose. So
Mhm.
I'd like to know, how did you know this was your purpose? Did it just come up one day when you were young? Did you kind of think this? And, because people, even my listeners, they're like, now, what is it that I'm supposed to do? Because once we identify what that is, we're more fulfilled. It's like we have a more reason for living. We have purpose, drive, energy, and all of that. How did you know that this is what you're supposed to do?
Cassandra, as a very young girl, I'd always had a curiosity of what I'm going to say is the other side. I remember asking my mom when I was pretty young, what happens when we die? And in true adult fashion, in my mom's case,
Yeah.
the fear instilled of why is my young child asking me this question?
Okay.
Especially relatively so soon after my father passed away. So
Okay.
it brought an element of fear, but my curiosity was always there. The mysticism world, the astrology world, the ancient teachings, be it the Western world and the Eastern world. So the curiosity was there always. And then life set in. I had a 15 plus year in the corporate world in Canada, in corporate Canada, and then went into a world of consultancy. So I've lived very much a heavy, real life dense world in the day-to-day living.
Okay.
But outside of that, there was a lot of pain, a lot of healing that needed to happen. And as we all go through life, my way of finding resolution was looking through the energy world. So as I would do my 9 to 5, or should I say 7 to 8,
Yeah. Right.
I would come home and look for healing in certain areas of my life in the mysticism world. So simultaneously, as I was healing my own wounds for myself, but also for my past generations too, I sharpened my skills. I sharpened my own tools to open my intuitive senses and energetic senses to not only channel in bigger energy, be it the deities, God, universe, divine, whatever you want to call it, channeling those energies, but also to connect with other people's soul to be able to truly crystallize and feel and transform the energy of their wounds. So while I can do that, but the only way a soul really can transform that is if they understand it. I'm not going to rob anybody of the experience. So if you understand it, then you can transform it. And that's when I stepped into it, of the universe saying, now is your time to guide others on this path. So I left my corporate career, and I do this to support individuals pretty much full time.
Okay. Okay. So when you decided that the corporate career, it was time for you to resign or move ahead or move forward, was there fear in that?
It wasn't a conscious decision, so to speak, Cassandra, because again, I'm a believer when the universe, your soul, is set out to teach you something and present something to you, it will make those lessons really, really loud and very, very clear. So I would live in the world of contracts in my corporate career. And when one contract would get shortened, I'd be like, okay, now I have time on my hands. Okay, now I need to find another contract, or I didn't get the contract.
Okay.
So all these signs and lessons would show up by saying, okay, we don't need your services anymore in this corporate culture. So to me, those were signs from the universe saying, you need to not be involved in that world, but expand in this world, because at the same time, my energetic gifts were really coming online. I was being able to transform a lot of my own world, but also see the influence on those around me, be it my family members, my peers, my friends. I could see the shifts that were happening.
Right.
So it
Okay.
wasn't really my choice. It was the universe saying, you need to pay attention. We need you to do something else.
Yeah, because I'm a big believer in God. And, like, let's say I remember working in a corporate environment and the environment, they downsized. So therefore, I no longer had a job. I was angry about it, upset, like I dared them. It was like I was entitled that I should
Mhm.
have this job. And so, based on my faith, it's kind of like they said, when the student's ready, the teacher will appear.
Yes.
And what I did was just had a shift in my mindset. And it just says, I know there's something better out there for me. Now, I can either be bitter about what happened to me or better. And if I were bitter about it, then it would really have problems finding something else, you know. And that's why I say in this podcast, is your way in your way of
Yep.
doing things that perhaps God says this is not your time for this and you need to move forward. So there are different things that can get in our way of doing what I believe God has called us to do. Um, so the work that you do is quite fascinating, and I loved it when you said, well, and I was like, well, what's your soul? You said, well, different fragments, and so whatever that person believes in. And my listeners know that I am a woman of faith,
Mhm.
and I could take what you say, and say, well, if it's kind of like, am I going to be open to this to get the support I need, or I'm not? So, in other words, it's a decision, as you indicated, that people would have to make to follow your modality of becoming your authentic self,
Yeah.
so to speak, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. One
Yeah.
thing that I would do want to add, Cassandra, to that is I have worked with many individuals who come from a strong faith base,
Okay.
and I welcome all of it. I've
Mhm.
studied quite in detail a number of different faiths. The principles and the tools that I bring to individuals have got nothing to do with the faith that anybody carries. I'm not asking you to leave your faith. I'm not asking you to judge your faith in any way. Rather, the perspectives that I bring and the principles that I bring come from a place of perhaps science, but also
Mhm.
spirituality.
Mhm.
And those can be merged together regardless of the faith that you bring.
Mhm. Okay. Let me ask you, one of the things that I ask my listeners and many of my guests that I speak with, I always say, if I provided you, Naranja, a scale from 1 to 10, and 10 being the highest, and I ask you, where are you in living your best life on your terms to this day? What score would you give yourself?
Ooh, that's a big question, Cassandra, because I do believe that we're always learning and we're always growing, but
Mhm.
in the same token, I have designed the life through the wisdom of my soul and my ancestors
Mhm.
that provide me with the optimal opportunity to heal
Mhm.
whatever's left in
Mhm.
residue of my soul, but also to be of the greatest service that I could possibly be
Mhm.
in human form. So I
Okay.
would I would have it right up there to an 8, 9, and a 10 for sure.
Okay. Okay.
Mm,
Well, that's a beautiful thing. Um, and I guess I'm not guessing, I'm certain that back in the day, years ago, you were probably at a 1, 2, 3. And when you're at that level, you do what you have to do to get to where it is that you believe you should be. And that's what it sounds like that you had done.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Yes. By no means did I just come out of my
Right.
mom's womb all the way into a number
That's
9 and 10. No. Yeah,
right.
I sat in 1s, 2s, and 3s for a long time, but those were the times that provided the biggest healing opportunity and the biggest growth.
Okay.
So perhaps the nugget out of that is for individuals who may be in whatever stage they're in is be curious about what you're being presented and
Right.
how it makes you feel.
Yes. Okay. So, as we wrap up, I want to know, based on what this podcast is about, is there anything that you'd like to share with the listeners to help them to mitigate those barriers that's preventing them from living their best life? Any words of wisdom? You've already given a lot, but any additional?
I was going to say the curiosity piece, but okay, I've just said that. So I would, excuse me,
Mm-hmm.
invite people to observe their thoughts, whether they say things out loud or
Mm-hmm.
whether it's a ruminating thought that continuously is on loop cycle. Observe it. And what happens when you observe it and don't engage with it? That's one.
Mm-hmm.
And then the second piece I would say is when that thought is on the roller coaster ride, move the awareness into your own heart.
Okay. Move
Because we
the
can,
awareness into
so
your heart.
move your conscious awareness into your heart and feel into that love.
Okay. Okay. And that is when we say abundance is your birthright.
Mhm.
So, what you're saying is we all, not only are we valuable, but abundance is something. When you say abundance is your birthright, what do you mean by that? I was going to
It's
say it, but I want you to say from your perspective.
there's a number of perspectives that could be taken from that. One is the abundances of life experiences that we get to witness,
Mm-hmm.
the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Mm-hmm.
That's our birthright that we get to witness and experience. But when we can look at those as gifts, even
Okay.
though they're painful,
Yeah.
then they're abundant.
Right.
But then also, the second version of that is if we look at all the painful experiences and just put them aside as lessons, that they're not really all mine, they're here
Mm-hmm.
to teach me something. And we
Okay.
tune into the heart because our soul is designed just for us to witness so much love, so much peace.
Yeah.
But we hold on to all the heavy, toxic emotions.
Right.
So let go of those emotions, let go of that grasp, and be in flow. And the more in flow we are, the more ease and more grace and abundance will show up.
Right. So when you let go, you're saying we need to transform our thinking.
Yes, yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
Okay. Great.
Exactly.
Okay. Well, Narajan, thank you. Where can my listeners find you? What are your social media tags, DM
Absolutely.
tags? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm available on my website, which is brightshininglight.com. I'm on Instagram at two accounts, which is Naranjan Nota, but
Mm-hmm.
also Bright Shining Light. I'm on LinkedIn under my own name and Facebook as well, again under Bright Shining Light and Naranjan Nota. So I'm
Okay.
accessible, I'm available, and I would be honored to support individuals who are looking for a deeper connection with their self.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for your time. I've learned a lot. I see some things in a different perspective. That's what it's all about. We're here to learn, we're here to grow, and we're here to serve. And whichever way that we're feeling that's right for us, then that's something we'll do. It was my pleasure. And my audience, if you believe that this podcast would be a blessing to someone, please share it. And also know that I am on every Wednesday at 1 p.m. Thank you and bye for now.